Join me today as we celebrate one of our kids' birthdays by making everything he loves for the day, starting with breakfast. We've got a delicious lineup planned, starting with some homemade cinnamon rolls. You know how much we love cinnamon rolls. We are prepping this first thing in the morning, so they'll be perfect for later. I have a full video of how we make our cinnamon rolls without any need of measuring, so if you love making cinnamon rolls and you are a little bit afraid to make them from scratch, don't worry, I have the video in the description so you can check it out. I used that method, but also I did sweeten it up a little bit more this time, and I added some cinnamon into the dough. Why not? I don't know why nobody thinks about this. If you love cinnamon, of course we're going to add cinnamon into the dough as well. All right, let's get breakfast started. First up, we're making Israel's favorites, which are potatoes. He always loves to snack on the potatoes whenever I make potatoes for Trey, so I know he's gonna love roasted potatoes. We're cutting up some red potatoes. I have the oven preheated to 425 degrees Fahrenheit on convection, keeping the seasonings very simple. Oh, I've also got chopped some red onions. We're gonna season with onion powder, paprika, salt. We're going to add a little bit of oil to massage as well, and then we're going to put it in the oven. We're going to roast it in the oven for about 30-35 minutes until golden brown. To go with our roasted potatoes, I have soaked some mung beans overnight. We soak all of our beans, all of our grains, just to help with digestibility. So I've got 4 cups of mung beans going in along with 2 cups of water. I'm seasoning up with some onion powder, some salt, and some nutritional yeast just for some added umami and cheesiness. Now, we don't make mung bean omelets very often, but today I decided to treat Israel and the rest of the kids with this dish. It's not something we have all the time, so I want to make sure that it's just right. I'm going to do a little tester first, just kind of like you would with pancakes, just to see how it cooks. This way I can perfect the seasonings and make sure it's ready to go for the rest of the omelets. It's all about getting that balance of flavor and texture just right for this special breakfast. Now, usually we would add a little black salt, which is kala namak, I believe it's called, just to give that mung bean omelet that signature eggy flavor. It's got sulfur in it, and that's what makes it eggy. But we actually ran out and forgot to grab more, so today we're just gonna cook it without. For additional yellow color, you can also add some turmeric into this. I'm gonna give it a taste test first. Think about it, see what we need to calibrate, what seasonings we need to add. It looks like we need to add a little bit more salt. I've also finely chopped up some onions and bell peppers, which we're going to add to our omelets as well. Now I'm going to pre-cook these, and we're going to stuff it into the omelets once the omelets are cooking. A quick tip to making mung bean omelets: you want to make sure that your cast iron or whatever pan that you're using is nice and hot. You're going to brush a thin layer of oil on there just to make sure it's not sticking. Spread that mung bean paste evenly, nice and thin. It only needs a little bit. It probably just needs maybe like 1 minute to cook. Add the toppings on top while it cooks. Cover it just so that the tops cook at the same time, and then you can then release it or roll it into an omelet just like this. The potatoes are nicely roasted. You can see how nice and crispy and golden brown. This is our first plate of omelets. I'm going to serve it up with a little bit of guacamole on the top, and then a drizzle of ketchup on the potatoes as well. 1 omelet plate done, many to go. So while I am making the rest of the omelets, let's talk about how much we love this dish, because mung bean omelets are such a great plant-based alternative to traditional eggs. So if you are craving that eggy texture, I would highly recommend trying some mung bean omelets. After the 5th or 6th omelet, I perfected it. This one was the most perfect omelet. I figured out the cook time, everything was perfect on this, so I decided to plate this up for Israel instead of serving him the very first plate. How is it, Israel?
potatoes are salt as well.
So the potatoes need more salt.
Nothing is salted for him. Why? It doesn't need salt.
Yes, it does.
No, you guys are very wrong.
And the omelette is delicious.
Our oldest son, Emmanuel, he loved the omelets. He probably ate 3 omelets himself. It was a hit. All right, breakfast is down. It is time to work on those cinnamon rolls. I have a way that I like to make it, which is lining a dish with parchment. I'm going to add some coconut oil on the top, and I'm also going to sprinkle some coconut sugar on the top as well. This will be the bottoms of our cinnamon rolls, and once they're out, I flip it over and it creates this beautiful little glisten of caramelized, or like caramel really, essentially on top of our cinnamon rolls. The kids loved our homemade cinnamon rolls so much that they wanted us to make it every Thursday and Saturday. I have yet to go through with this, but maybe eventually I will make it a tradition every Thursday and Saturday. But for now, cinnamon rolls are really just a treat whenever we have every once in a while. By adding that extra cinnamon in the dough itself, the dough is flavored with that cinnamon. It's warming. Why wouldn't you add that extra cinnamon? I'm going to continue to do this. I will maybe have to make a whole new video to just teach you guys to just add some extra cinnamon into the dough. Adding that extra cinnamon into the dough also made the dough a little bit more brown, as you can see, but that's okay. It's still going to be delicious. I'm adding a layer of coconut oil on the very tops. I'm going to then sprinkle on our cinnamon liberally and very generously. If you want to go fancy, you can definitely add nutmeg, maybe some ginger powder even, some allspice, anything you could think of. Add a little bit of coconut sugar on the top of the cinnamon as well. Once you add the coconut oil, all of the cinnamon and the sugar will slowly seep into the coconut oil, and it'll just help it stick to the dough. Now it's time to just roll up our cinnamon rolls as tight as possible. You want to make sure it's nice and tight because you have these delicious, beautiful layers of cinnamon and sugar all encapsulated into the cinnamon roll. Now that I look back, I definitely cut the cinnamon rolls a little bit too tall in terms of like height-wise. I feel like I should probably make a larger roll and then cut it a little bit shorter because I like it a little bit fatter and flatter as well. Moving on to the next dough. So I actually had to split this up into 2 just so that we can roll it out, and it's a little bit more manageable this way. I thought I had enough cinnamon rolls to fit a 9x13, but it looks like it was a little bit too much, so I had to transfer it to a 9x9, which fit perfectly. We're gonna let this proof in a warm oven until it doubles in size. We are actually adding some coconut milk on the very top. Trust me, do this. I will make a separate video. We are baking this at 350 for about 35 minutes, 40 minutes or so. We'll check up on it in a little bit. Meanwhile, we are getting ready to gift Israel his gifts. So I have written a riddle, which I have handed to him. He needed to figure out this riddle in order to find his present, which he found with a little bit of help from his siblings. This is what he wanted. He is a big Lego person. He loves his Legos, so we got him a Mustang GT Lego set. Oh yeah, look at these cinnamon rolls. They are done. We're gonna let these cool, and then once they're nice and cool for about 10 minutes or so, I'm going to flip this. So I have a big, large plate that fits our 9x9. We're gonna flip this over, and then we are going to remove that parchment. And when you do this, you will see how nice and ooey, gooey, and juicy the bottoms are. It is to die for. We are big crafters in this household, so Grace made this cute little jungle thing for Israel. We also made some paper planes for his birthday while we enjoyed some cinnamon rolls. We were pretty full from cinnamon rolls and our earlier breakfast, so we actually just didn't have lunch, a very official lunch. On to his birthday cake. So if you were here for our grocery haul, you would have seen that I did purchase some mango chunks for Israel's birthday cake. He requested a mango cake this year. So I'm starting off by boiling 3 cups of mango chunks in a pot with about 1 cup of water. We're essentially making a mango puree at home. So once this boils, we're going to blend it or blitz it with a hand blender. We added a little bit more water here because it looked like I may have burnt it a little bit, but no one needs to know. It was a little bit short on water, so I had to add a little bit more liquid to get this puree going. I don't think I've made a mango cake before, so this is a first, of course. Just like most of our recipes we make here, we like to kind of freehand it and kind of figure it out ourselves. So we don't have a written recipe, but I will definitely show you what it looks like and how everyone liked it at the end. I'm cutting some parchment paper, or trying to cut some paper for our cake tins. Man, our scissors, I need to get some new kitchen scissors. These scissors are so blunt. They're more likely to just fold the paper than cut it. You could barely feel the sharpness when the blades come together. It was terrible. So I did my best. These parchment rounds are definitely not perfect, but I did it and it worked fine. This cake recipe I created myself on this day. So I added 3 cups of flour, a teaspoon of baking soda, a cup and a quarter of sugar. I think it needed a little bit more sweetness, so maybe 1.5 cups would be perfect the next time. I'm adding 2/3 a cup of water with 2 tablespoons of ground flax, just to create that flax egginess to hold everything together. I have 2 tablespoons of vinegar, and that baking soda and vinegar kind of reacts together. When you make a volcano, when you mix baking soda and vinegar, it kind of makes a bunch of bubbles, and that's what we want. That's what helps the cake rise. I'm adding our wet ingredients to our dry ingredients here. Now, I am also going to add the pureed mangoes in a little bit. Here, I'm also adding 1 cup of coconut milk. Now, in hindsight, now that I go back and think about it, I definitely could have added a little bit more, either milk or some kind of liquid. The cake was a little bit denser, so I would have liked it to be a little bit lighter. As you can see, I added 1 cup of the mango puree, and for some extra flavor, I added a teaspoon of vanilla extract, and then a little bit, maybe like half a teaspoon of almond extract. When you put those together, it tastes really good. It tastes kind of like buttery, and I really, really love the flavors. I definitely think we could have added a lot more mango flavor or mango puree for the mango-y flavor, but you know, we didn't have that much mangoes. I think you really, really need a lot of mangoes to make a cake taste like mangoes, but that's okay. We are going to do what we can, and we're going to do our best with what we've got. We are baking these 2 cakes at 350 degrees for about 30-35 minutes until a toothpick inserted comes out clean, and that's when you know it is done. Now we have to make sure that these cakes cool completely before we add any frosting, any cream on top, because we don't want it to melt. Let's work on the frosting. I have some cashews. These are sea salt roasted cashews. You can definitely use raw cashews if you have, but this was on sale, so I'm going to use some of this. I filled a little small pot with some water, and then I'm going to boil about 1 1/3 cup of cashews. Now that I look back, I definitely made a bit too much, so I will probably have to half this the next time. We drained the cashews as much as possible after cooking it for about, I'd say 10-15 minutes. We're now going to put this into our pot of pureed mangoes because we're going to blitz it all together to create a nice frosting. Now I tried to freeze this coconut milk a little bit ahead of time, but the kids, for some reason, they just took it out of the freezer, so I don't have the actual cream. So I'm using some cold coconut milk. I'm going to blend this up with a hand blitzer until it creates a nice thick sort of frosting like texture. If you want to do this in like a Ninja or a blender, like a large blender, you definitely can. The hand blender, it definitely took a little bit of time for me to get it nice and smooth. Once that's done, I am going to stick it into the freezer just to set up a little bit. Meanwhile, I'm going to prepare dinner before we actually go out for the night to celebrate Israel's birthday. So for dinner, I'm making one of his favorites. We are making a creamy pasta with sausage and broccoli. This pasta really comes together pretty quickly. So in a pan, I have sliced some onions. We are going to start caramelizing that a little bit. I'm going to add our field roast sausages. This is the garlic and fennel flavored sausage, I believe. They are plant-based, of course. We're going to also, if I had some peppers, I would have added some peppers, but unfortunately I didn't have any more. So we've only got some onions and sausages at the moment. We're going to use some rigatoni today. You can use any pasta you like, but we just chose rigatoni. We're going to boil this on the side as we make our sauce because it comes together so quick. When the pasta is ready, I have drained it a little bit. I cooked it al dente. I'm going to add some broccoli in here. We just added some frozen chopped broccoli. Frozen broccoli always makes a quick dinner so easy. We're going to season this up with plenty of smoked paprika and some onion powder in here. We're also going to continue to cook this pasta in this liquid because we want that water to be saucy. The water is going to cook down to make the sauce. Now all of the sausage and onion mixture goes right on in. We're going to make it creamy with some coconut milk. Now I only had a little bit left of the coconut milk. I used what we had, and then we're going to just grab another can of coconut milk to complete this dish. As you cook this down slowly, the water becomes the sauce and it's going to be perfect. Moving back onto the cake. The cakes are nice and cooled down now. Our mixture is thicker, so it is time to frost the cake. Now let's face it, I am not a cake decorator. It's very, very difficult for me to create sort of a frosting that is thick enough to frost a cake without using anything like vegan butter. Every time I go and find vegan butter, there's always added ingredients that I just don't really want to include or cook with, so I prefer not to use it. I just stick to what I know, which is using cashews to make this frosting. This frosting is a little bit runnier than, I'm sure, like a vegan buttercream using vegan butter, but that's okay. You know, as long as the flavors are there, I'm happy with the result. I had everyone get dressed and ready to go. We're gonna have a little bit of dinner first before we have this cake. What you think?
It's delicious. Okay.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Israel. Happy birthday to you. And many more. Happy birthday. I hope this tastes good.
Cream is good.
Final verdict on the cake. The cake texture could have definitely been a little bit softer, maybe fluffier, so I definitely need to add a little bit more liquid. The cream tasted delicious.
Tastes like there's banana on it.
Really?
It's not mango-y enough, I don't think.
Isn't that mango enough?
It is. I can taste a lot of mango.
You take a lot of mango? Was it good?
Yeah.
We planned a little trip for Israel, so I went to Trader Joe's the night before. We were looking at all of the different snacks that we could possibly bring. We found some chili seasoned dried mango, which we thought was delicious. There's lots of snacks, of course, at Trader Joe's. Everything is fall right now. Look at this delicious and cute chocolate collection. We've got pumpkin snickerdoodles, some fall pasta which look like pumpkins, so cute, some pumpkin cheesecake croissant. There is pumpkin O's, pumpkin butter, pumpkin coffee even. Oh man, there's pumpkin literally everywhere. I didn't pick this up, but it looked intriguing, and I'm thinking I should just make my own when we get home. And this is the final result from Trader Joe's. This is what we purchased at Trader Joe's. We found some really cute pizza seasoned crackers. These are actually the actual size of what it looks like. They're pretty big. I thought it'd be really cute for them to take that to our little surprise for Israel. We've also got some crackers, which I was planning on maybe, you know, pairing with some hummus. We got some jerk style plantain chips. These look delicious. Hopefully it's nice and spicy. Some chili seasoned dried mangoes, which are supposed to be spicy. And then of course, I got the just regular dried mangoes because some of us don't want the spice. For our surprise for Israel, we are going to see Wild Robot in 4D. If you've never been to a 4D movie before, they spray you with real water if you're going down streams. The chairs move like you're in a roller coaster ride. It was really interesting. And then we also took the kids to the arcade at the end. We really thank you so much for celebrating Israel's birthday with us today. Subscribe if you are new, and we will see you on the next video. Bye everybody.